I thought I'd make a reading vlog because I just bought Bullet Train. The movie's coming out in August. I saw it in the bookstore, so this is just gonna be that. It's gonna be a reading vlog for Bullet Train. I'm super excited. I'm not gonna lie, I did already read some of it, only because I just wanted to I read like 2 pages in the bookstore. I got this idea to do this reading vlog because I was like, she thick. They described this book as fast, deadly, and loads of fun. NPR's Fresh Air. Just thought I'd bring you guys along, and yeah, this is that. So far I read chapter 1. In chapter 1 we're introduced to 2 characters. I think his name is Kimura. I think, let me see if his name was really Kimura, who's on the train because he is planning a murder on some Crime and Punishment type beat. You find out towards the end of the chapter, that the first chapter, that he's actually planning a murder on a school kid, and the reason why he's doing that is because he ended up murdering his son. He pushed him off of the roof of a department store. He goes into the train with the mentality that he's gonna end this person's life. He has his gun in his coat. That's the first chapter. The second chapter, we get introduced to 2 witty characters, Lemon and Tangerine, and they're basically these 2 hitmen who are hired to save a mafia son. You kind of just get an insight on the whole dynamic of these 2 characters, how they're witty, how they're the complete opposite. Towards the end of the second chapter, the mafia lord's son dies. I already like it, so we are going to continue reading it. Hopefully get this done before the movie comes out. Those were the first 2 chapters. I'm gonna try to get more done, and we are gonna see what happens. Know that I'm going to be losing track of the chapters that I'm reading because the chapters aren't labeled. They're not numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're just numbered Fruit, Nanao, Kimura. This chapter I know I recorded is chapter 9. So in chapter 9, it's basically about OG, the prince, and his history, his violent history of why he's so interested in violence and controlling and manipulating people. Books that he's read about people who were in power and how they got their power through fear, being manipulative, how he thought that those patterns within those people were very interesting, and how he wanted to implement that in his school. So with the teachers, with the students, he just wanted to implement that to see if it would work. Once Satoshi realizes that it does work, he decides to take it a step further and incorporate the fear factor and incorporate people's lives and killing people, and he has no problem with it. His character honestly is interesting. Makes you want to know what's gonna happen to him. That's basically what chapter 9 is about, where his violent nature comes from, and it ultimately just comes from curiosity. There's definitely some references, some analogies from his character and Raskolnikov from Crime and Punishment. The thing is with Raskolnikov, he writes a report. He's a writer. It's basically a report about extraordinary and extraordinary people. Extraordinary people are able to get away with stuff because they're extraordinary, and ordinary people, it's their fault for basically not being as cunning as them. If they murder somebody, if an extraordinary person murders somebody and they get away with it, then they have every right to get away with it because they couldn't get caught. What's so interesting is that Raskolnikov and Satoshi, the prince, they have some analogies because they're both curious. They both wrote a report. The prince, he wrote a report based on a book about genocide. His teacher was reading it. She was going to grade it, and she just gave him a pat on the back that she was surprised that he understood the book thoroughly. But that's not the case. He was basically saying that he was going to implement those manipulative factors into his school, how psychologically people will follow him and how they're gonna make it make sense in their brain. It was basically his psychology 101 on what he was gonna do and how it was gonna work, and she just brushed it off wow, you really understood that book. And he's killing students, killing dogs. That's basically the explanation of his character in this chapter. Let me just read this. So it says, people need to find a way to justify themselves. A person can't live without being able to tell themselves that they're right, that they're strong, that they have value. So when their words and actions diverge from their view of themselves, they start looking for excuses to help reconcile the contradiction. Really gives you like an insight on what these characters are thinking. But yeah, that was chapter 9. This is probably really long. 14 and 15 is about Tang and Lemon. They're getting checked for Minagishi's son. At each train stop, they're supposed to get checked by one of their boss's men, just to make sure that they're on track with their job and they're gonna get to Morioka with the bag and with their son, with his son. And they get checked, and then they were almost pretty much fine until Lemon messes up. He grabs little Minagishi's son's hand and he literally waves it. It looks like a dead corpse. It doesn't look like a sleeping boy. Tangerine obviously gets mad at him. He's like, you idiot, like we almost had this in the bag. That was 14. And then 15 is about the same situation but in Nanau's perspective. So I kind of like how in the chapters they do that. Like they'll leave, it'll be like about the same situation but from another character's point of view. Okay, and then this is when I really started bunching up chapters because I was like, no, like this is too much. 16, 17, and 18 are about Tang and Lemon making a plan to blame losing the bag on somebody else. He's basically like, can't beat them, join them, because they don't know where the bag is. Son is dead. 17 was when Nanao and Lemon get into a fight. They have like a little fight on the train, sitting down next to each other, but they're trying to be like quiet, and basically Nanao ends up knocking Lemon out. He just leaves him propped up because while all this is happening, the reason why Tangerine wasn't involved is because he was in the restroom. He just leaves him propped up like next to Minagishi, knocked out, and he doesn't kill him because he doesn't want to deal with another corpse, and he figures like that'll just get Tangerine mad since Tangerine and Lemon are close even though they argue a lot. I'm just gonna set my forest. I'm just gonna do like not even an hour actually. Okay, the lowest I can do is 10 minutes actually. The bare minimum. Let me see, like, where did I end up? Finish the chapter. Was it Nanao? Yeah, Nanao's chapter. So, Fruit and Nanao. After Lemon gets knocked out, he's propped up, sitting next to dead little Minagishi. Tangerine gets out of the restroom. He sees Lemon knocked out. He checks his pulse to make sure he's not dead. Finds out he's not dead, and he kind of just examines the whole situation to try to figure out what happened while he was in the restroom. He sees the traps that Nanao sets, and he thinks that they're childish, and he's just like, wow, like, did he really think that this was gonna work? Little tripwire, did he really think it was gonna work? But he got a call from somebody, yeah, about Nanao, like, what's up with him? Is he really dangerous? Am I not hyping him up enough? They basically say, like, yeah, he's known for being a skilled assassin because he's known to fight when his back is pushed against the wall. Like, that's when he's his best. But other than that, he's like anxious, and because of that, he has like a lot of bad luck. The whole situation, like I said, is basically happening again, but in Nanao's perspective of him setting up the cross-dresser to distract, of him setting up the umbrella, the booby traps on the train, the snake that he released. Like, literally all the things that he predicted and all the like little details that he was scared about, they worked. It's like his bad luck flipped and turned into good luck. That's the way that chapter ended, and I'm really tired, so I'm gonna go to sleep. Okay, I got my water because I know I'm going to be talking a lot in this video. Let's get started because I'm so excited. I finished the book Bullet Train like a week ago. The ending was so great. A lot of unexpected turns, literally. There was a lot of good, a lot of bad, a lot of head scratchers. Lemon, even though throughout the book he's seen as a ditzy kind of person, he's actually the first one. I think this is because he's more of the sensory type, getting into MBTI, sense that there's something off about OG. This is so satisfying because throughout the whole book, OG is literally manipulating all the adults that come in his way, and he's literally like winning them over to believe that he's something that he's not, and it's so aggravating the way that the whole situation goes. While he figured out that there's something wrong with OG, I think it was in Nanao or Kimura, it was a scene where like the three of them were there. Kimura, yeah, Kimura. Lemon, like he's like, you know what, you're like one of the, like the nasty one that like frames people, that that talks behind other people's back. Prince is like, he's like baffled, but he's honestly like so mad the fact that like someone like Lemon is able to like identify him. We have to move on. Oh yeah, okay, Kimura's parents being assassins. What? I think that it hinted it towards the beginning of the book when they were like, oh, older assassin, the way that old assassins work, like how they were tougher because, you know, they didn't have a lot of the technology that we have now. And I was like, yeah, that might be brought up later in the book, but I don't know when or how. But they're retirees. They're retirees and they're old school, so they're the ones able to save Wataru, who's in the hospital, you know, with like somebody, you know, ready to pull his plug. Because they do things old school, he literally made the prince die slowly. He said that he was going to cut him into pieces because he messed with his grandson, and he was going to also do that not only to make him suffer, but to hide his tracks and the fact that there's going to be a missing 14-year-old kid. It was so satisfying, but at the same time kind of sad because it's a kid. But also that scene, the prince gets his answer. He gets the answer on why murder is wrong, and there's a whole professor on the train who tells him his viewpoints on murder, and he thinks he's just asking that to like get a reaction out of adults. Like he can literally ask. Murder is to the extreme. There are a lot of rules in this world that are worth addressing too. Another thing to talk about, Minagishi dying by the hornet. So supposedly Maria, Nanau's agent who's talking to him on the phone, she finds out that the whole disruptance with everybody's mission, the whole confliction between everybody is constructed by the hornet. The hornet was basically trying to get, their target was Minagishi, and Minagishi, he's like this drug lord, he's like this mafia boss. It wasn't even one of them, it was two of them. It was the trolley girl and it was the flight, the attendant. The reason why they had to like conflict with people's missions was to get Minagishi, mafia boss, which they end up doing towards the end of the book. He ends up, you know, picking up his son because word gets out that Lemon and Tangerine aren't doing their job. Yeah, word gets out, and then he goes to Morioka, he goes to the final station, has his people with him in like suits, and while he's waiting there, one of the attendants, the hornet, he came to him and he was like, oh, you can't be standing here like with all these people, like it's a disturbance. And then he didn't care, obviously, and so he walks past them. And so when he walks past Minagishi, when he walks past Minagishi, he goes back and he like stabs him with a needle, and that's how he poisons Minagishi, and that's how Minagishi just plops to the ground and dies. I don't think that's how they're gonna do it in the movie, because I saw people like shooting and I don't remember reading all that. I didn't think he was gonna die. I thought that like maybe he was gonna like get mad at somebody for not retrieving his son or something. The cute part at the end where I think it's like 3 months later after the whole incident on the train, Nanao ends up getting a lottery ticket and he ends up winning something. And Mr. Suzuki, the professor, he's literally there with him, and he's like, you know, just for giggles, because like he's not gonna win anything. It's like he's just standing there with him while like, you know, he's scratching his lottery ticket. He ends up winning, but he ends up winning like a basket of fruit. Half of it ends up being lemons and the other half of it ends up being tangerines. While he's staring at the fruit, he gets like a little flashback of Lemon saying, I told you we were gonna be back. Lemon was always like, I'm immortal, I'm not gonna die, even if I die I'm gonna come back. It literally says he takes a good look at the fruit. For the barest moment he feels a flash of pride emanating from the tangerines and lemons, almost like they're saying to him, see, told you we'd be back. All in all, to conclude, I give this book 5 stars. I give it 10 out of 10. Without further ado, that's the end of this video. That's the whole review. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being here, and I will catch you guys in the next one.